What is up, guys? Rick Cacus here, and welcome to the final full episode of Fan-Made Exotics, the only series that lets you submit your exotic weapon, armor, ghost shell, or heck, any Destiny exotic idea and have a chance for a realistic concept art to be made for it. Now that's because we've partnered with the artists Benjamin Radiman and Michael aka Rageblade, both of which will have their deviant arts linked in the description. Now yes, I did say the final full episode, and that is true. We've done over 50 episodes. We have had so many good exotic ideas, so many fans for this series, but the original series has simply run its course, and with Destiny 2 coming out and just all the time that needs to be spent on that game, and with an entirely new weapon system, the current iteration of the Fan-Made Exotic series simply has run its course. We may bring it back after Destiny 2 has been out for a while, but for right now, this is the final full episode. Now, I'd say final full episode because this is your guys' last chance to submit your exotic ideas. And if you want to submit an exotic idea, all you need to do is simply make a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure to include the name of the exotic weapon, all of its perks, especially its exotic perk, and any stats and abilities it may have. And then in a few weeks' time, we will do a special finale episode of Fan-Made Exotics. It's not going to be a proper episode, it's just going to be going over what was submitted in this episode, as well as some all-time favorites. And I really want to thank everyone who played a part in this series, submitting every episode and sharing and liking the videos that did come out. You guys really made this series go as long as it did. And so it's time to start with this episode. We're going to showcase 5 featured exotics that all came from the comment section of last video, and then we're going to talk about some tips for getting your ideas selected. Now, starting us off, we have the Shadow Specter, exotic auto rifle concept by David Barziak. Now, this weapon has a couple of different exotic perks. The first one is an intrinsic perk called Silent Systems. This weapon's sounds are severely muffled. Now, this comes up every once in a while in PvP. Make no mistake, you can definitely hear other people's weapons, and especially exotic weapons, and recognize what they are using. Like, you can very much hear a thorn hand cannon and know that person is using that weapon. And so to have a weapon like this, where the sounds are much lower, you're going to confuse some higher level PvP players, definitely. But the second exotic perk is really where this weapon comes alive. It's one with the shadows. Upon killing an enemy, you are hidden from all radars for 10 seconds. And while you are hidden, you get an agility boost. One with the shadows cannot be stacked. So, a very interesting take. We've had a few iterations of this in the past, of a silenced weapon, taking you off the radar, and in this case, giving you an agility boost. And that's a really good idea because, you know, right now in Destiny, not too much, really anything except for crouching, takes you off the radar. So everyone knows where everyone is, and it's a giant, sticky grenade cluster schnuts. Whereas with a weapon like this, especially with the agility boost, you can actually legitimately flank the enemy team. Get behind them and start shooting them, and capturing those objectives that are in the back of the map and past where everyone else is fighting. Now, of course, in Destiny 2, things are going to be a lot different, but I would love to have seen some silenced weapons in Destiny 1 that actually function like a proper silenced weapon, allowed for stealth, allowed for flanking, and hopefully we can see that sort of thing in Destiny 2. Alright, now moving on from there, we have the Ebony and Ivory exotic sidearm concept by Nash Ketchberry. Now, this weapon has a few unique perks for sure. The first one is an intrinsic perk, Cowboy. Allows dual wielding with the Ebony and Ivory. Right trigger fires Ivory and left trigger fires Ebony. Aim down sights is disabled. And this really makes sense. I was surprised to never end up seeing a dual wield either hand cannons or sidearms in Destiny 1, because that's quite the balancing factor. And it's a good thing this weapon also has that, where you can't aim down sights. Of course, you increase your power potential by literally having another gun. You are essentially doubling the rate of fire of a normal sidearm, which is of course insane. You've got to have something to balance that out. But the fact that you cannot aim down sights, that you are going to be dedicated to hip firing only, is a huge balancing factor, because you really have to get close to the opponent, and even if you do, there's a chance for your bullets just to miss, to just go around your opponent, to just go to the edges of your hip fire zone. So that is a huge balancing factor, and it's something that makes dual wielding extremely viable in Destiny. So I'm surprised we didn't see one. Hopefully we'll see something like this in Destiny 2. But we have a few more unique perks for this weapon. The base perk is Luck in 2 chambers. One random bullet in both of these weapons magazines will deal more than normal damage. So it's basically, luck in the chamber, but for both guns. That's actually a pretty clever perk. The next one is an exotic perk, Jackpot. Holding down the triggers allows for a charged shot, dealing even more than normal damage. Activating Jackpot consumes a partial charge from your melee and grenade abilities. So I guess hold down the triggers and then let go, and they shoot one big bullet, uses up, a decent amount of ammunition for that big bullet, and also takes away some charge from your grenade and melee. Very interesting ability, but quite frankly, this gun doesn't need it. It's already an exotic because it's dual wield and it has the Luck in the Chamber perk. I feel like the charge shot, while it's neat and it could definitely work, it's a little overkill, to be honest. But it is definitely a cool ability. All the abilities for this gun definitely make sense. For the charge shot even, that seems balanced. Like, yes, it's a very powerful ability, but using up your charges of your other abilities is no joke. That's a pretty big downside when you do that. I would love to use a weapon like this in PvP and PvE. Now moving on from there, we have the third Horseman exotic auto rifle concept by Bandit Nation. Now this auto rifle, well, firstly it has Head Seeker, which is definitely not a perk that you normally see on auto rifles, but I see no reason for that perk to not be on auto rifles. Make them more consistent, and definitely that would be a top tier perk that I would be looking for. But it also has an exotic perk, Horseman's Precision. Repeatedly hitting headshots increases damage 2% per shot. This effect ends if you deal any non-precision damage or reload the weapon. I really like this perk. I really like this perk, and I would love to see this as an exotic perk in Destiny 2, or even this could be changed and made into just a normal, legendary, rare, whatever perk within the gun system in Destiny 2, because it's so well balanced and also quite effective. In PvE, it would be the most effective, right? Where you are shooting an enemy like a boss multiple times in the head, you can plug, a Hive Hallowed Knight a bunch of times in the head with an auto rifle, and in that scenario, getting 2% increased damage every single shot is going to matter a lot. By the end of your shots, you're going to be doing a decent amount of damage. And when you're using this type of gun on a boss, like a strike boss or a raid boss, that 2% is going to add up. And so by the end of your magazine, you're doing a ton extra damage. But you really have to ramp it up. So in PvP, it's not going to matter much because the enemy is already dead after around 6 to 8 shots with auto rifles all to the head. So maybe this would result in like one less shot to kill, but it would not be anything absolutely ridiculous. In fact, you could balance it so that it resulted in no more shots to kill than normal in PvP. It's rather in PvE where this thing is really effective. So I like the whole idea of this perk. It definitely would be quite useful in a lot of scenarios, but not overbearing and not overpowered. You really got to be careful when you're designing perks that have damage increasing bonuses. Alright, now moving on from there, we have the Victory Lap exotic sidearm concept by Raging Cool. This Sparrow Racing League inspired sidearm has a few unique perks. The first one is Speed Demon. Doing damage with this weapon increases your movement speed. The next exotic perk is Victory Lap. After each kill, you automatically reload this gun and gain increased range, damage, and stability for the entire magazine. Now the first part, no problem with that. Doing damage increases your movement speed. That's a pretty cool ability, pretty useful ability, and definitely works with the theme of this weapon. The second exotic perk, Victory Lap. This could be a bit much. Automatically reloading and gaining increased range and damage and stability, that sounds a little problematic. But I think simply remove the increased damage part and you have a very, very effective and good weapon. You instantly reload, which we've already seen how effective that can be in PvE with stuff like the Bad Juju. Instantly reloading every time you get a kill makes that weapon insane for dealing with low-level adds, and having that ability on this sidearm would be just as useful. Increasing range and stability would be incredibly good in PvP. Like, you don't have to have the damage, just the other two things would be so good in PvP. So I think, again, just removing the damage part and you have a very well-balanced and very, very effective sidearm in Destiny 2. And also something very unique. We don't have a ton of stuff aside from really Battle Runner that messes with your movement speed. So I love to see that kind of ability dived into more in these concepts. And next up, the last exotic concept we're going over today is the Spirit of the Hunt, exotic cloak concept by Deriha. Now there are a few different ways to do exotic class armor, and this one would simply take up an exotic armor slot, so you couldn't use this in combination with another exotic armor piece. The exotic perk is Thermal Reactive Cloak. While invisible, this grants you increased movement and sprint speed, slightly increases the duration of your invisibility. Shooting while invisible will deactivate your invisibility as normal, but the damage of the first shot will be increased by 15%, while also increasing the damage you are taken by 18% for 6 seconds after exiting invisibility. So a lot going on here, but basically this works in combination with any other invisibility causing perks and abilities. So like right now in Destiny 1, this would be a great thing to put on, well, if you're playing Blade Dancer for sure, and running especially an invisibility build. There's a lot of abilities for that subclass that give you invisibility, and even you have Night Stalker that can throw the smoke at his feet and go invisible for that. And then being able to come out of invisibility and do 15% bonus damage, well, 15% bonus damage with a very powerful one-shot hitting weapon, like 15% bonus damage on a frickin' Sleeper Simulant shot or a Galahorn shot, that's a lot of damage. So that is a pretty powerful ability. But of course you also gain more incoming damage for a little bit to kind of balancing out. Also having a slightly increased duration of your invisibility and getting better movement speed, like this would really make an invisibility based class more effective, or invisibility based build I should say, especially with the Blade Dancer. Going full invis specs and then putting this on would actually result in a pretty usable and fun build. And so guys, that is it for all of the exotic concepts we're looking at today. Now if you want to submit an exotic idea for this, the final episode, here are some tips for helping your idea to get selected. Number 1, try to self-regulate your idea. Make sure that your idea isn't overpowered. Getting a kill and instantly getting an overshield would be ridiculous in PvP. Now also, number 2, make sure that your idea isn't overly complicated. If you're writing several paragraphs explaining your idea, it's just too complicated. If it would take me 10 minutes to explain it, I can't pick that idea. And also, if every single perk is unique, again, it's kind of overkill. Moving on from there, try to be realistic within the scope of Destiny. Getting a kill and turning into a dragon is definitely cool, but it's never actually going to be in the game. But lastly, don't be afraid to completely break out of the traditional gun type norms. Don't think you have to do pulse rifles, auto rifles, whatever. You're welcome to do SMGs, grenade launchers. You're welcome to do anything in the scope of the Destiny 2 gun system. Go to town. We've done spears and heavy hand cannons and all of that stuff. So again, don't be afraid to be creative. And guys, that is it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please remember to support the video by liking and especially sharing. If you guys want to see more Destiny and Destiny 2 content, be sure to slap that subscribe button, especially if you don't want to miss out on that finale special episode of Fanmade Exotics. If you guys want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below, as is my Twitch channel, which you can also follow. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.